What's up, everybody? It's Friday night, 9 o'clock Central from the forums here. It's Super Bowl time. And for you fantasy crazy people, it's off season. Let's get it rolling. What's up, everybody? Dude, I'm so glad to be back. It's been 2 weeks. I got a question for the room. Okay. At this point in the season, like you've watched so much football, you watch fantasy after fantasy after fantasy. It hits the playoffs. Do you find yourself like not as glued to the TV? Like, are you as excited for the Super Bowl as you are the fantasy off season? Where do you sit?
Well, those are different questions here. If the Patriots weren't playing in the Super Bowl, abso-freaking-lutely, I'm just as pumped for the damn Super Bowl. But no, I don't want to watch the Patriots go to another one, much less win.
Yeah, what is it that Thanos said? He's like, you cannot live with your own failure. And where did that bring you? Back to me. Everybody hated the Chiefs in this dynasty thing, and where does it get us? Right back to the Patriots. It's stupid.
If you can't see the back of my wall of all the 49ers gear, for those of you who listen on the podcast version, I am rooting for the Patriots. Screw Seattle. I cannot stand Seattle. I can't have Seattle in the San Francisco Stadium holding up the Lombardi trophy. That's just too much of a dagger through the heart. I can't have it. However, as a bettor, I will be betting Seattle.
Oh, we'll talk about some in the show, but it feels like the NFL is shifting a little bit. Like the powers that be, head coaches that have been there for decades are now gone for other people. Like it's just completely shifting, right? Pour one out. There you go, Joe. And we have the Super Bowl's crazy because you have a young gun, somebody fresh into the league that is doing what everybody thought he would do. He's got a great head coach, all that. Drake May's killing it. Then on the other side, you got like the resurgence. Like you got Sam Darnold, who has been not great for most of his career. He goes to the Vikings and all of a sudden he comes alive, right? And then he goes to Seattle and everybody, like I know towards the beginning of the season, I was on the world of like, hey, Sam Darnold's going to get hurt. He'll probably be out halfway through the season, and here we are. He looks awesome leading the Seahawks. Like, when the Seahawks got rid of DK and they just completely like nobody was going, oh, yeah, that's a Super Bowl team. That's a Super Bowl team. But here we are. We got Darnold, we got May, and probably at the beginning of the season, I can guarantee you this wasn't many people's Super Bowl odds.
Here's the thing. If you look at the 2018 quarterback draft class, who would in their right mind would have thought that Sam Darnold will be the first one to make a Super Bowl appearance out of that group? It's absolutely unreal. And it's crazy. I think the thing for me going into the season, Seattle was known to have a bad offensive line. Sam Darnold was known to panic when he was faced with a rush. And that offensive line has completely turned it around. He has another big 14-win season, and Minnesota's GM got fired because of it today. And now there's all this smoke coming out about how Kevin O'Connell didn't even want to play with J.J. McCarthy. Like, he didn't have any time for it. He wanted Sam back, and they were like, But that's what you get for following PFF, and that's what apparently their GM was doing. So, like, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, it's got you making that feeling like...
That's what we've learned. Don't follow PFF. That's it.
You're sitting there looking like, how the hell did we end up like this? Like just absolutely bonkers. Both these teams took an L in week 1. First time ever we get both of them in the Super Bowl. I'm pumped. I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl and see the Patriots lose, of course.
Dan, I know that you obviously have hard feelings, but coming into the season, did you have any expectations that this would be the Super Bowl?
No, definitely not the Patriots. I thought the Patriots maybe had a chance to make the playoffs after some of the moves they had made. I did not think that this team would go on a run to the Super Bowl. Seattle, same thing. I kind of thought the defense was still like a year away from reaching its full potential. I thought outside of JSN, the offense was still going to be limited in its ability to score. I did not trust Sam Darnold in big game moments. He seems to have gotten that monkey off his back after the past couple of weeks. So, yeah, it's not something I was quite ready for. I believe I had the Bills and the Eagles in the Super Bowl preseason heading into this thing, and that did not come to fruition at all. Although it should have been the Bills' year, but that's why Sean McDermott got fired. So.
Yeah, that's tough. So, chat, if you're in, try hard in the chat. Let's go, Darnold. Obviously, rooting for the Seahawks. Fantasy Meatball, appreciate you tuning in, saying what's up. Got BHS Cardinal, love the show. Let's go. Hey, look, while you're here, drop in the chat who's your pick to win the Super Bowl. And just around the horn real quick. Joe, who do you got?
Seattle, baby. All for 12, 12 for 1, or whatever the hell they've been saying.
Brian, who you got?
Oh, it's Seattle without a doubt, baby. I always like taking the underdog, but not this time.
Dan, I know you already said your money where your money's at.
Yeah, so the money, and I'm actually teasing up the line too, because I have Seattle winning this game 30-13. So I will be taking it up and juicing that for Seattle quite a bit in this game.
Couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing, huh? No way. No way, not with that team.
Nope. The Patriots are lucky they beat the Denver Broncos. If Bo Nix had played in that game, they would never have won that game in the first place. They absolutely are just awful on offense. And Drake May, as great he has been, he's been coming back down to earth during the playoffs because the fact of the matter is they don't have any weapons. Ramondre Stevenson and Trayvon Henderson are their best weapons. He has nobody to throw the ball to. Stephon Diggs is beyond wash, and he's the best wide receiver that they've got. Now you're going to be against what is probably the top 3 defense. I know they beat Houston. I know they beat the Denver Broncos. But here's the thing. Clint Kubiak is not an incompetent sucktard like the other 2 offensive coaches for the Broncos and the Houston Texans, and that's going to be the difference.
Fair enough. Got BHS Cardinal obviously saying Seahawks. Meatball. Seahawks I thought was a playoff team, but I didn't see them in the Super Bowl. While Patriots I thought was at least a year off playoff contention. You know, they surprised everybody. Let's go Patriots from Limelight out there on an island of your own. All right. Try hard Seahawks. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So let me ask you this. Dan, and I know we talked about it some this year. It feels a little bit like a shift, like the changing of the guard in fantasy, and that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to get into some of these players, people that were moving off of, people that were selling, people that we want to hold because you're not going to get the value out. And we're going to talk a little bit of that. But I was asked a question the other day, and it was like, do you think that even the position of when it comes to fantasy, like how you draft, like you go running back heavy, you go, 0 RB, like the 0 RB wide receiver has been a big strategy for the last few years. And this year it felt like you needed to target running backs more. Like, we've got these young quarterbacks coming in that aren't putting up crazy numbers, but they're good. They're managed. Like Drake May is managing games, like, do you is it changing the way that you look or play fantasy any?
Well, for me, not this year, because I've been on this trend since 2022. Passing stats have gone down every year since 2020. That's why I've been still big on quarterbacks, drafting them late, because they're all pretty much the same. Wide receivers this season, the difference between wide receiver 13 on a points per game basis and wide receiver 36 on a points per game basis is 2 points. 2 points. It is much more easily able to replace the wide receiver 2 and the wide receiver 3 than it is to get those running backs in the top 24. You want those top elite receivers because there's a bigger gap between them and the rest of the group than there is with running back. But after that, you actually want the running backs. And there's no more, there's not a running back dead zone. There hasn't been for like 3 years. People want to keep talking about it because the talking point is not actually in existence anymore. And then you get it backed up by the fact that personnel has gotten heavier and defenses have not caught up to that yet. We had the most 13 personnel, the most 22 personnel, the most 12 personnel ran this year than we've had since 2016. What we are seeing over the past 3 years in particular is a cycle going back to prior to 2016 type of football. Defenses haven't caught up to it yet. They will eventually. We'll get the resurgence of the linebackers to combat that at some point down the road. But so far, defenses are still playing their nickel-based defenses, and that's why offenses are like, look, we can get efficient passing out of these big packages and start running the football again. So welcome back 1999. Here we go.
Yeah, that's the key we have to look in. Like, as we see these smaller defenses, they're looking for speed. They're looking for all of that. Well, the NFL, the offenses, they're like, look, we're just going to run against you. If you're going to put out those guys to stop us from throwing it over the top, we're going to put it out there and we're just going to run the ball. We've seen essentially wide receiver 2 disappear. Absolutely. Dan, you were talking about like that elite separation gap between the wide receivers and the one. Yeah, that's where it is. Outside those wide receiver 2s, no, give me a tight end. I'd rather flex that. Like, I've never made it as a wise man, but like when it comes to that, like I'm always going hard on the running back, okay?
I do think that one of the things that I've always felt strongly about is you can't go double one-y. And what I mean by that is that if you are going to take an elite quarterback, you are essentially punting on tight end. If you are going to take an elite tight end, then you're essentially punting on quarterback. It's really hard to build out the meat of the team if you go tight end and quarterback early. Yeah. I feel like I would much rather have the Trey McBride, the Brock Bowers, the Colston Lovelands of the world, and find that QB later, because there's always going to be people that pop off. The tight ends, you will have someone typically finish in the top 5 that was drafted outside of the top 10. But I feel like I feel a lot more comfortable taking the floor of a low-end QB and figuring out who it's going to be, rather than trying to figure out, all right, who's the tight end and tight end wasteland. So that's something I think that needs to be maintained. Quarterbacks was down quite a bit this year just because of all the injuries. If you were looking at the narrative going into the season, you had to get a good quarterback because there was 5 guaranteed good quarterbacks, and you did not want to have one of those guys. But then you see that it kind of fell back to earth. You see that historically it's been more of the draft the QB late sort of thing, but I think people were really pushing you got to get Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels. Joe Burrow was kind of on the fringe of that, but really none of those players were really useful or at the top outside of Josh Allen, because he's Mr. Consistency for fantasy football.
Yeah, it was amazing how many quarterbacks that you did have to go early on that ended up probably costing you your season because they couldn't get on the field. And players that, boomed that didn't, like, you got Trevor Lawrence this year at the end of the quarterback draft. Like he was going so late. And I mean, the end of the season, like if you had him going through the playoffs, like he picked up, or the end of the season. So the quarter Sam Darnold went undrafted in a lot of leagues. Like it just
Matt Stafford wasn't really drafted all like
that.
And which is funny because people were talking so much about how Puka and Devontae Adams were both going to be top 12 wide receivers. And it's like, all right, well, if that's going to be the case, they're not running them in.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Matt Stafford had a C-section right before the season started. So, like, come on, we were all a little scared there.
And Puka can run one in every now and then. I will just say that. So Fantasy Meatball said 34-27 will late search by the Patriots. They fall short. J Label 5883, thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button. We appreciate you. If the Jags beat the Bills, do you think that they would be in the Super Bowl? I think that they would not have had as many turnovers as the playoffs were crazy. It was turnover city. Like, I'm like, how are these teams going in? CJ Stroud was like 4 picks, like Josh Allen had 3, like it was just awful. It was like, let's throw it to the other team all day. It was surprising. I just expected better football. Albert in the chat. What's up, fellas? What's up, Albert? Thanks for tuning in. Meatball said I had in 2025 my 2 high stakes wins. I started Gibbs, A-Chain, and Gibbs and Jacob. Look, I typically am RB heavy. This year I went real RB heavy. It won me some leagues. It lost me a couple, because I went a little too RB heavy. But, dude, my guys started popping off at the end. I almost made it. It was a fun season. But here we are. All right, we're shifting. The game's shifting. Dan, you gave us a lot of information there. So how does that impact? Like, when we make the flip, right? When we get to off season, immediately goes to like wanting to trade, wanting to move your team around. If you play dynasty fantasy football, the off season is really what you live for. Like, it's all about the trades. It's all about moving your team around. It's about the draft picks. We're not going to get into the draft. We're going to cover that a little bit more post Super Bowl. I hope you're watching Devi Dojo, Dynasty Pulse, some of these shows on our channel that are covering those rookies really heavy. Dana, you guys just dropped an awesome episode covering some of the rookies for Operation Domination. Awesome stuff. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you can get some of that content. But, I asked you guys before the show, what are some of the moves that you would be looking to make or you would be looking to do this offseason? And I know, speaking running backs, maybe that means a Saquon or a Barkley move. Maybe that means
did you say Saquon or a Barkley move?
Sorry, Saquon or a
Matt
Saquon
Barkley,
or a
obviously.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley was on the mind. Saquon or a CMC move. Maybe that means, you're buying in on Rico Dowdle and a shot at another team. I don't know what it means. But if you have those in the chat, drop them in. We're here to help. But, Joe, you start us off. What's a move that you're looking to? And it could even be like an old school, like you got Cooper Kupp, who made the cover of the show today, going to the Super Bowl again. And we go, okay, are we completely out? Can we even sell him? Or is he just like a leave on your roster until he's no longer type player? Like, where do you stand on these guys? What's your first one?
Well, I mean, if you're going to stand on business for two girls, one Cooper Kupp, I mean, you have to just kind of ride it out at this point. You lost the ability to trade off. Like, you basically had to do it immediately after the Triple Crown season. And he's been deteriorating. His separation isn't there. I kind of agreed with the Rams when they were like, you probably should just retire. Apparently that's what they were telling him before they made the trade. I was like, yeah, I kind of see it. Like, white boys don't hoop like that forever. Like, you got to get out while you can, But so I don't think he's somebody that's going to be coming off of your team or anything like that. I do think an interesting player to keep an eye out for is Mike Evans. There's a lot of speculation about like what that means for him. And that makes a lot of interesting value takes for what's happening for Tampa Bay overall. You know that Egbuka started hot, kind of fell off a little bit there. Godwin's going to be around for a while. Godwin, I feel like, could be a steal if they're throwing that bone out there that Mike Evans might leave. Mike Evans might do this. He's obviously got one foot out the door already. He's an older wide receiver, but if he's going to go ring chase or do something like that, then you kind of have that new pecking order, and how's that going to play out between the two of those? So I think some of that value is a bit suppressed. It's going to be a lot easier to acquire Godwin, given the age, given the injury history, given the uncertainty with the Mike Evans situation. But in the offseason, which is why I don't really make any moves, the areas that you can attack that have the most ambiguity or uncertainty, that's where you're able to kind of like make a move. Like if you were to say, oh man, like I'm going to go trade for JSN right now, like everybody is just watching him make sick one-handed catches and go to the Super Bowl. Like there's a lot of exposure on that.
That's going to be an expensive go.
Right. Yeah. So, you don't want to do that right now.
So Joe, are you saying that you want to try to acquire Mike Evans? Or are you saying you want to try?
No. Mike Evans is too much there. I think for me, it's like, all right, let me kind of sneak in, see what like Godwin's going to cost. For me in Dynasty, I don't think anything between over the 206 is not real. Like all of those picks are just people that are bored and like need something to do for all the effort that they spent pretending to be a GM for the last 3 months. Most often, you're not going to ever get anybody that's not going to get cut off of your taxi squad because you get bored the day that waivers opens, then you replace them for somebody else that had like an interesting article that particular day. So it's like if I can get Godwin for a 2026 like third or something like that, or a 2027 third because it's the greatest draft class in the history of NFL football. Apparently there's going to be all Hall of Famers and they're all going to be all pros their first year. So it's like, all right, let me see what I can kind of throw out there for that. And you get Godwin super cheap, who looks better than what I thought he was after his leg fell off. Then I'm cool with that. So it's like, let me just see what that is. I think Egbuka maybe a discount, but I think a lot of people are going to ride that wave and say, okay, like he might be the guy akin to JSN.
So Meatball in the chat saying I'm buying Justin Jefferson in the top 6 wide receiver by season end. Wolfgang said, I don't get the 2 girls, 1 cup reference. Could you explain? We're going to spare you that one. And please don't Google. It will be a bad day for you.
Absolutely not.
Cooper Kupp had 2 girlfriends in college at Eastern Michigan, and they got him in a little trouble.
And then Fantasy Meanwhile buying in on Burden being the wide receiver 1 for the Bears. I don't hate that. So, Joe, I am not I appreciate that take. I am not buying Godwin. Godwin is one of those players I've never been able to be up on, or be hyped on. And I'm also one of those, if I'm gonna move late picks, I like to package them to try to get maybe something a little bit more. But I will say this: if you're filling your roster with people like Godwin or Mike Evans for 3rd and 4th, you're not doing a bad thing. It's going to be okay. Dan, what's a move that you're looking to do, or do you have anything in response to Joe's?
No, I don't think Chris Godwin's a bad guy to go after if you can get the right price tag. But as far as what I'm looking, there's 2 things I'm looking to do. One, depending upon your situation, if you're in a total rebuild or if you're in the middle of the pack, I am looking to buy into 2027's draft. 2026 is not going to be a great draft for fantasy football prospects once you get outside the top 6 of these picks. It's not going to be awesome. You're going to have about 5 wide receivers. You're going to have Jeremiah Love. Maybe if Clint Kubiak's the head coach of the Raiders, Fernando Mendoza might have a chance. Maybe. But what I'm really looking to do is get into 2027. The other guy I'm looking to buy is Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky!
People are his prices tag is lower because he has injury history, and people think that the 49ers are going to go out and get some legitimate wide receiver 1, whether it be in the draft or whether it be via trade. Where they're picking late, so you're not going to get one of the top 5 wide receivers, number 1. Number 2, the A.J. Brown thing is a pipe dream. The Eagles are not – first of all, the Eagles are not going to trade A.J. Brown. And even if they do, it's certainly not going to be to one of their rivals in the NFC for the Super Bowl. I don't know what people are smoking, but that's not going to happen.
He's going back to Tennessee, man. Come on.
The Browns traded a Pro Bowl quarterback to the Bengals in the middle of the season, okay?
Oh, please.
That's Ohio problems. We don't have Ohio problems, okay? That's a whole different ballgame. I don't know where this number 1 wide receiver is going to come from. It's going to be left
apparently
down.
From Applebee's. That's amazing.
You're going to get Ricky Pearsall, probably no Juwan Jennings because he's going to price himself out of them wanting him return because he wants $20 million. They're not going to give him $20 million. So all Pearsall has to do is stay healthy. First 4 games of the year, he was a wide receiver 3 overall. So that's somebody I'm looking to buy right now whose price tag is going to be dragged down due to injuries and context of what the storylines are around him at the moment. So 2027 and Ricky Pearsall.
So give us a price tag on Pearsall. What are you willing to pay?
A late 2nd round pick and lower.
I do 2 seconds for Ricky.
Ooh, 2 seconds for Ricky.
I'm not talking like 201, 204, but like 205 and 210. Sure, I'll do that for Ricky. In this draft, absolutely. It's crazy how Ricky came back from a gunshot wound faster than a hamstring injury. I'm just saying. I'm just like,
what's crazy is that people call him injury prone for getting shot.
That's what's crazy.
Dude,
like my bad,
guys.
A second for someone who is immortal. Let's go.
Toughness 99.
Look, no, I love it. I love the Pearsall buy. I think that he is significantly cheap. I don't think that you have to pay a second. I think that you can go in and probably get Pearsall for a 3rd, especially if it's an early 3rd, because of his inability, even back this season, his inability to get onto the field has definitely hampered that. I think that that's a great target. I like that one much better than Godwin. No shade. Love you, Joe.
There was a lot of shade.
Let's see. You got J Label. J Label in the chat said, wait till an older wide receiver changes teams like DJ Moore, AJ Brown, and as soon as the trade is announced, trade them away while the news is hot and collect draft picks. Brian, you're going to give us your next one. I just got to know, though, are you there's this room where people in our dynasty leagues, it happens all the time, where they trade away their stud players, people like AJ Brown, people, and just try to collect picks. Are you a picks guy or are you a players guy?
Yes and no, I guess. I guess answering that question, it's kind of a loaded question as far as like what style of team do you have? How is the roster construction work? Are you rebuilding? Are you just in a soft little, hey, I'm down this year, but I'm back next year? The what do they call it? Or are you just going for it big?
Retool.
So but like just the productive struggle, that's what I was looking for. Like you kind of dip it for 1 year and you go all in after a rebuild. But like I think it's all different. I'm in 8 dynasty leagues, so I play all different ways. Some leagues I throw everything away just for the picks to see if that works, and other team I don't want any picks and I'm playing all players. And I got a couple that are right there in the middle. So I think it all depends on who you play with too. I've got a few leagues that I literally play with the 11 smartest men in the world. If you were to ask them, they are all the smartest guys in the world and they won't ever trade anything. And those I go for picks because I go for players because they think they're smarter than everybody else and they know who to pick. Y'all go for all the picks. Give me those vets y'all don't want. And that's how I win over them. And then in other leagues, everybody just gets scared and tries to get rid of those picks because they don't know who to take. So I think it's all about knowing your league when it comes to that situation.
I do think if you're going to go for picks, though, and that's something that you're after, like now is the time to acquire picks as you do things along the draft cycle of the combine, of the pro days. People start to get attached to players that are in their range, and it makes them harder to let go of that pick. So if you're trying to sell your picks, hold. Wait until it's close to draft time or at draft time. That's when those values are going to be the highest because somebody already has that player that they're going to pick. They're on their team already, and it's a matter of what you can squeeze from them. But if you're trying to get picks, now's the time.
So, Brian, what's a move you're looking to make?
All right, look, I don't know if I'm necessarily looking to make it because I actually have 0 shares of this guy. But we kind of talked, there's different ways of playing Dynasty. Some people play on the finesse of like, oh, I know this player, I'm really studying. And some people play Dynasty legitimately like the stock market. You're buying low, you're selling high. So that's what I'm going to start off here. When you look at your roster, of course, we all just want to be big rock stars with those great players, all the studs, all the big ones. But right now, Trey McBride is coming off probably one of the best seasons he's going to see. He will probably have seasons that match this, but I don't know if his value ever gets truly higher than it is. And right now with these young tight ends, depending on the situation, why would you not sell that out? If you can go get a young, ambitious tight end that you see could climb, plus some first-round picks, maybe other things that you might need for your team, why would you not sell them at the peak value? And I'm not saying that value is even going to come down over the next 3-4 years, but it's all about taking advantage. And when you play it that way, you play it like the stock market, this would be one of those moves to make. And I just see this team drastically changing. We've got a whole new regime as far as the coaching. Probably a new quarterback, maybe. Does Kirk Cousins come over there and play differently? But just, we could see this ball spread around. Michael Wilson jumped out there. Marvin Harrison, oh my God, can we please get some sort of like... We just need something after all the hype we gave him in his rookie season or going into that rookie season. Like, why would you not? Why would you not kick the tires and see what could happen?
It's interesting. If people did that after Laporta's breakout year, they probably did really good. So if you're going to trade McBride away, okay, what does a close deal and Fantasy Meatball said, what would you give up for McBride? I'm going to switch that around and say, what would you take? Like, give us a simply an as low as cost. Like, if I'm working a deal, give me the bottom of the barrel. Like, we've negotiated for 3 hours and we finally landed at your cheapest price. What does that look like?
I mean, if you can get one of these young guns that came out here and blew up, like the Harold Fannons, Oronde Gadsden, I want a lot more packed into that because there's a lot of variables that go into that. But, if you could tear down to a Colston Loveland, a Tyler Warren, a Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, if you believe, something like that, plus give me some first, or maybe your team's hurting at quarterback. Maybe you're hurting at running back and you need to acquire a few other depth pieces. I'm cool with tearing down as long as it makes sense.
Okay.
Let me jump in there real quick because this is something we harp on Operation Domination all the time. it is very, very difficult to secure an elite tight end in dynasty leagues. Incredibly difficult. And Brian, you might not be wrong in the sense of this could go down as his best career year. Like, it was an incredible year. But you talk about playing it like the stock market. Sometimes you don't sell the tippy top of the stock. Sometimes you hold that thing so it boosts your portfolio overall. That's what Trey McBride is going to be. He's that guy he's a tight end who's 26 years old. He could play like this, not for the next 3 years. He could play like this for the next 6 years. So it's hard for me to come off of a guy who finally got the touchdown glass removed this season because Kyler Murray was gone and will stay gone. Even if you're tearing down, like, let's say it's Tyler Warren. Let's say it's an awesome tier. Let's say it's Colson Level. Let's say it's an awesome tier down. You still better be giving me 2 first-round picks because that's how hard it is to secure an elite tight end like that. That's messed up.
Yeah, it is
That's a good punch. No, look, I'm mixed here, and this is where I see Joe's point or Brian's point a bit is we don't know what that offense is going to look like. And if they bring in a quarterback that doesn't know how to protect their wide receivers, Trey McBride is the type of player that can get beat up and miss time. Like he is. And so like, here's what I'm saying. His value is as high as it's ever going to be. Like he could do this same thing next year and the price is still going to be the same. Very heavy. Right. So like he could do this for the next 3 years and the price is still going to be the same as what it is right now. So it's like, if you, I could see the picture. If you have a roster that has needs, it's cool. Like I'm cool with moving them, but I do agree. It does make a difference. And for you guys that play in Dynasty, if you can get a good tight end on your roster, even if it's a veteran while another, young gun develops, it's important. It's important because that's one of the biggest discrepancies in scoring on a roster. You look at it, you either have a tight end that's going 20 plus a game or you have a tight end that's going 7 a game. Like there is no middle ground. And if there is middle ground, it is boom or bust territory where they're either going to do 20 or they're going to do 3. So it's just I agree with that. That's an interesting take, and definitely a cool sell.
I got one for you, Brian. Here's what I would do. I would trade Trey McBride for Brock Bowers straight up, and I think that's a trade you can get done. Again, I am anticipating that the Raiders are going to be having Clint Kubiak as their head coach moving into next season with Fernando Mendoza. If they pull that off, which I do think they will, because I think he'll take that job over the Arizona job, that is a move you're going to want to make because Brock Bowers is going to go from the pitifulness that was last season to what we expect out of him, which is a generational tight end. That's the move I would make. And
you're gaining 4 years, and if you can get like a LaQuint Allen, something else tight in there too, just because he would be just below trade, that's a get in. But like, I guess to Dan's point too, we're not trading just to trade, folks. We're not being bored and just freaking pushing the trade button. This is more of the situation like you need other assets.
That's literally what people do.
That's what people do in Dynasty. They trade to trade.
They either do that. They either trade or they do a startup draft.
All right. So Meatball said, would you do, Brian, Tucker Kraft and a 27 first for McBride in January?
Probably not.
It's not enough. You need more.
Kraft is a tier or 2 below where I would be looking, unless I'm actually absolutely just hemorrhaged at the position. Kraft coming off the injury. Damn, if Green Bay's offense is not just absolutely frustrating. Nobody gets over a 20% target share there. I know Tucker Kraft had a nice little run there, but I would be looking for just a little bit more talent there. The Brock Bowers obviously.
I would trade Kraft.
All about the price. All about the price.
I don't know if you're going to get value back for Kraft right now coming off the ACL injury. And he looked like a little mini George Kittle out there. So I'm not sure I'm going to trade away Kraft right now. Maybe if he comes back from the ACL and performs like he did last season, then I might.
All right, so we got a couple questions in the chat. Says Nick at the bank. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you. He said, if I'm contending next year, should I send a 2027 second away for a better wide receiver or hold? This year I won the championship, and my starting wide receivers were Olave and Robinson. Wide receiver is my weakness on my roster. Joe, were you wanting to address this one?
Yeah, I can hit this one. I think if you just won the championship, yeah, and your team isn't basically built on players that are probably going to fall off like a Christian McCaffrey sort of situation where you're super aged, yeah, I'm going to continue to take this run. You got the buy-in money or whatever it is that keeps you motivated in playing this, and you're already paid up for the next couple of years. Go on the run, take advantage of the talent that you have. Yes, you're looking at an elite team. You're 2027 second, probably a back end of the draft unless something goes catastrophic. So it's see what you got out there, especially some of those more aging players, then you can get something good for it because people are so charged up about the 2027 draft.
Yeah, I will say this, and when we're talking about draft picks, Joe, you said it earlier. You said great point at acquiring picks early. Look, to get picks, if you want to trade for picks, one, you needed to do it during the season, and if you didn't do it during the season, you have maybe about a couple weeks left that you could get picks at a okay cost. Like not many of your average dynasty players tune into the Senior Bowl. They're not watching the Senior Bowl. They've been out of college football, through the play, like outside of the playoff teams. They're not super hype on it's not heavy yet. Once the combine happens, once the NFL combine happens, the value of picks doubles. I would go as aggressive to say as doubles. It significantly increases. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, I think the first thing that happens is the line is established, and then everything above the line doubles. So I'll agree with that, but like coming out of last year, after the combine, there were so many disappointments of like guys like, I really thought he was going to do more. And that line was established as like, okay, 108, and then I'm out. I'm out after the 108 kind of a thing. So like the 19, 110, 111 all dropped drastically. Those top ones, they definitely did. So that's where making sure you kind of have a good idea of like, all right, I've got the 107 and there's like 8 or 9 guys I like. Maybe I should sell out of this now because I could come in below that line. But if you get the 105 and there's like 8, 9 guys you like, then I think you're like, all right, cool. This pick is, like you said, Tyler, this one's going to double. This one's going to go back. Because you don't want to be sitting there watching. You don't just sit there and like, just look at this photograph of like what could have been. No, you want to know what happens then and there.
Yeah, it really. I would say I would agree that the line is established in a way, but also like there's such an ebb and flow of player values, right? So like a
Sure.
player outperforms at the combine, all of a sudden they're skyrocketed, right? And somebody's like, oh, I can get that guy. Right, or I can get this guy, or the quarterback looked amazing. Mendoza's gonna go 1-1. As Wolfgang asks here, is he a lock for the 1-1? We'll hit that in just a second. But like they start thinking that way. Like they weren't thinking about him, now they're thinking about him. So if you need picks, you need to trade for him now. And whether it's setting the line or it doubling as soon as the combine's done on specific players. What I'm saying is it changes, period. It changes. So if you want picks, and then if you're going to trade away picks, let me tell you this. If you're going to trade away picks, you need to have what they call patience. You need to have just a wee bit of patience, okay? Because you're going to be excited. You're going to be excited to trade away those picks, and you may get some good offers, right? But on draft day or right around draft day for your fantasy, you will get 3 times the value. Like it will be crazy. And so if you release those picks now, you're selling cheap. Okay? Like think of it as selling a stock off before it popped, right? Like you're selling cheap. And the difference is, that this stock's going to pop. Like, the 1-1 or the 1-7 or the 1-5 is going to be dynamite to somebody, right? So when you talk about an A.J. Brown or Tyler, like you will absolutely get a stash. So anyways, all that to say, just be patient in trading away those picks. It may cost you a deal because somebody may be motivated to move somebody at the moment. based on what they think is going to happen, but you'll still net more during the draft. Even if it's I called the bluff on somebody last year. They wanted to take a player, and I knew it was the player they wanted. I said, I'm going to take this player unless you trade me. And I didn't want that player, but I told him I was going to take him. And he was like, no, you're not going to take him. And he offered me a deal, and I took the player. Didn't want the player. I took the player. And then he DM'd me immediately and was like, you did it. You took that. And I was like, I told you. Now pay me double. And he paid me double, and I made out like a bandit. Okay,
you're such a bully.
No, it's about knowing the price.
Yeah, look at Tyler. We're all staying skinny while he can eat. Like, that's just the guy going in there.
No. Pancake eating mother.
Exactly. Have patience. Okay, so make sure I didn't miss any of these. I'm sure I've missed a ton of questions. It like doubled there for a second. All right. So anybody got a thought? Is Mendoza, and I know his interviews weren't amazing. Is Mendoza a lock for the 1-1?
And
I would think he's going to Sin City is absolutely crazy.
He goes to Sin City. Guys, we did it as a team. Yeah.
So is he, for dynasty purposes, is he definitely a lock? I don't think he's definitively a lock. I think he's definitely worth a 101 pick in this year's draft class because he's the only quarterback who's worth a damn in this year's draft class. And if you're playing in super flex leagues, which most dynasty leagues are, you're going to be interested in that quarterback position. There's no doubt about it. And I do like his skill set, especially if he winds up in the right system, which I think he might be. But I'm also very much okay with the idea that you take Jeremiah Love at the 101. So that's going to come down to how your team is constructed to some degree. But is he a lock? No. But if it's not him, it's Love. If it's not Love, then I think it is him.
All right. Brian, in Dynasty, would you rather have the top 3 running backs or the top 3 wide receivers on your roster, and why? And this is what I want to do. I want to round the horn this. Okay, we're gonna round the horn this, and I just need a quick answer and a 1 sentence as to why. All right.
Just
ready?
Let me make sure I've got the question correct. This is implying that you have all 3 top running backs or all 3 top wide receivers?
Yeah.
Right. Correct.
Cool. Give me running backs.
Why?
Because I'm pushing for a championship if I got all 3 of them. Wide receivers, you got a little flexibility. You might be rebuilding. Who knows what you have. You've got the top 3 running backs, then you are putting up the highest of high points. You're putting up 20 points a game most likely with all 3 of those guys. And I can manufacture some Parker Washingtons, some Keenan Allens there with the top 3 running backs. Wide receivers are not consistent. Puka Nacua, JSN, they were great. A little better than I feel like we usually have at the top. Like, they still had some bad games, but usually you do not get consistency even from the best of the best wide receivers. Running backs, they are the tried and true as far as consistency. So I can make a win a lot easier with 3 top running backs and 3 wide receivers. Now, if I'm looking at longevity wise, dynasty wise, 3 wide receivers probably better because you're going to have them longer for that bigger set of time. But running backs, no. If I'm going all in right now, give me those RBs.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, just look at the NFL teams. How many running backs are relevant on NFL teams? 1.5. How many wide receivers are relevant on NFL teams? 2.5. So just by the numbers, you're going to have more wide receivers to pick from in the depth pool than you will be with running backs.
Like, this is how you remind me of what I really am. When it comes down to these running backs, putting them out there, it's just absolutely like, give me the points. Joseph, what you got?
It's wide receivers. The way that I interpret this question is not the top 3 scoring every year all of time. I think it's like the 3 highest rated. And for me, in a dynasty scenario, give me the 3 receivers every time. They have a longer shelf life as far as like your dynasty window. You can always acquire, Brian, you're talking about, hey, like I can find ability to get stuff for like a mid-range wide receiver. But if you have an older running back that's having a good season, James Conner a couple years ago, you weren't paying crazy money for him. Like, you can wait, make the playoffs at the deadline, pick up a couple older workhorses that are doing well that year and be fine too. But anytime that I'm looking at starting a team, I always lean wide receiver. That's just my golden rule for dynasty.
Well, it doesn't hurt to be in third place, Joe.
I was gonna say, without people like you, Joe, I can't win leagues easy.
True.
You know, like that's
Yeah.
how you need it done.
So
Man,
the what I find what I like to do is put names to these players, right? Like, so in Dynasty, like you look at having what Bijan, CMC, and
CMC's
Jahmyr
like
Gibbs.
running back 10, dude.
Yeah, you got to go with who's like actually like getting ranked going into 2026 top 3.
It's gonna be Bijan, Gibbs,
Maybe it's Taylor up there.
Achan, Genty.
Here, I'll pull it up. Hold on.
There's a
According
tier break.
to-
There's a tier break after those
Yeah,
two
Taylor, Achan, Genty. That's a whole tier in and of itself.
because all of them have variables. Yeah.
So I was
Who
trying
the
to
hell's coaching Genty? Answer me that. If it's Clint Kubiak, sure, I'll put Genty at 3.
Would you put Hampton in that second tier?
Oh,
No.
Mike McDaniel.
Not even
buddy.
not even Mike McDaniel, because I do think Kamani Vidal is going to maintain a role. With
Dan,
Ramon.
shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Everybody, just say what it is.
So I'm trying to pull up the projections, but Sleeper doesn't have them yet.
Keep Trey Cut has Bijan is the number 1 player in Superflex. Jahmyr Gibbs is the second running back. The third one is Achan.
HM.
Your receivers, you would have JSN, Puka, Chase. Give me that side all day.
No, give me the 3 running backs all day.
You know, Joe, Joe, you might be on an island here, buddy, because I am Mr. Running Back. Like, all I do is draft running backs.
Did
like,
you take 5 of 6 running backs with your first 6 picks in a
I
league last year?
I took 7 in a row. And look, listen
did
to
you
this.
did you make the playoffs?
Hold on, listen to this. Listen to
Hold
this.
on,
Did you
Joe.
make the
I'm not
playoffs?
saying take 7. I'm not saying take 7 here.
I took 7 in a row, but hold on, listen to this. I finished, so I had some injuries. I lost Bucky. I lost a couple players. I finished 1 game out of the playoffs because the wide receivers that I took didn't pop off till late. Jaden Higgins, some of these guys didn't pop off until later than I thought they would. So I was 1 game out of the playoffs. But following the playoffs, that roster, I was top scorer in the league every single week. Now, it doesn't matter because I wasn't in the playoffs.
Team. No.
I
World's
probably
tiniest
should-
violin right here.
I know, I probably should, but hey, I won a lot of leagues, bro. I'm not
Every
worried about
memory
that.
looking out the back door. That's this guy over here. What
Oh,
could have been? What could have been?
Could have been, yeah. All right, so look, Fantasy Meatball has a question. He said that what if you acquire FFPC, which is the Bluegrass tournament? He said Orphan, and that's in 6th place. Was a solid veteran team, but not much draft capital for 2026. Do you rebuild by selling your assets for first, or use 27 picks to get younger? I would say my first inclination was if you finish 6th and you don't have much draft capital for 2026 and you have veterans, I'm probably going to try to make one more run at it. I'm going to try to make one more run at it. If I see that it's going to go south quickly, I'm probably trading some of those players in season, some of those veterans in season to teams that take on early injuries or things like that where it can really impact, and then try to stack up on 27 picks when they're the cheapest, because those 27 picks will be cheaper mid-season or 4 games in than they will be right now, because you don't have 2026 picks to trade for the 2020. If you're trading 2026 picks for 2027 picks, yeah, people will probably do that because they want to draft now. But you're not going to get much value trying to trade for or trading for 2027. Like I'm not. I mean, anybody different? Then you're shaking your head a little bit there.
Yeah, FFPC is a different type of ball game too, where your prize will compound if you're able to win multiple championships in a row by a significant amount. So I'm trying to set up myself not to win 1 but 2 championships. In order to do that, if you have a middle of the pack team, which is what this is, I'm a veteran status, there are teams that are going to be above you who are trying to get that pot now. they are going to be willing to trade those 2027 picks. And if you don't have much capital to boost your team this year, I don't like being in the middle of the island. No offense, Joe. I don't like being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Being the Pittsburgh Steelers is boring, and it sucks because you get left out on both ends every single year. I want to either be the worst or I want to be in first. Let me sell off those veteran picks, get 2027, which is a stacked draft class for almost every fantasy football position that you could imagine, and rebuild from there. Give me a shot at being a double back-to-back type of winner in an FFPC league.
All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Mick said great answers. You've earned my sub. Appreciate the love there. Mendoza is not a lock to be number one. Got Nick in the bank. Since you sub, we're going to hit your question next. Who is your RB2 of the 2026 class? I really like Joel Coleman as the scataboo of this class. I think consensus is Jeremiah Love at 1. Dan, I know you guys just dropped your rookie show this last week. If you could drop that link in the chat or something for Nick, but who was your RB2?
Jadarian Price, his teammate actually out of Notre Dame. So this is not a very good running back draft class, unfortunately. Jonah Coleman, who I like relative to this class, will probably be somewhere in my top 5, but I comped him to Woody Marks ultimately. He's somebody who's going to have to get it done in the passing game, but he's not going to be a guy who's going to get a bell cow's workload in a normal situation. I know Woody Marks kind of wound up getting that workload towards the end of the season. We saw how inefficient he was. Jonah Coleman's a very similar type of running back who needs to make more of his heyday as a pass catcher rather than a runner. He doesn't. So, like, you talk about Scatabo, the thing that made Scatabo special is that he makes guys miss constantly. Jonah Coleman doesn't do that. That's not, he doesn't have a very good elusive rating. He's not really great yards after contact. Scatabo had great balance, and that was made him kind of dangerous, even though he didn't have the long speed. That's not Jonah Coleman's game. Coleman's game is very much I get what's given, and he's a decent pass catcher. So I'm not in on that. Jadarian Price is a type of guy who maybe isn't as skilled as a receiver, but he very much comps to a guy who could be like a Tyler Algier type, where if he's given an every down role as a lead back with a compliment to him as a receiving back, he could be a guy who gets you 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. He knows how to finish. He knows how to get yards after contact. He has excellent vision. That's why I think he might actually have a little bit more potential than a Tyler Algier. So that's my RB2 right now. And it's early in the process. Things may change.
Things may change. That is freaking rookie offseason. Anybody else have a different RB2 they want to tout?
I couldn't speak intelligently
All right,
about anybody in college football right now.
Yeah, you're trading those picks away for Chris Godwin.
That's kind of the nice thing about this class is, like, yeah, there is a tier break after the one guy, and there's a huge laundry list. We have so much more, but, like, everybody's got their drug dealer on speed dial. Mine is passing me nothing but Emmett Johnson. Dude, you talk about a home run hitter. I don't know. I'm excited to dive more into this kid and see what he does out there in the combine.
I love I love the offseason. It's so fun. All right, so Tryhard said, speaking of running backs, what are we doing with Barkley and CMC? Sell, let it ride. If you don't have them on your team, maybe you're buying. What are we thinking?
I felt like the CMC year to sell was before this season. He had the healthy year. I think everybody's pretty much going to have the mentality of he's not going to be able to do it again. They have electricity in San Francisco, so clearly it's going to mess up everyone's ACLs. But Barkley, he could be more interesting. I don't think that they're going to go into another offseason without improving the line. I do think you can sell Barkley. I think CMC's a hold.
CMC's a hold. Barkley's
a sell.
Okay. Dan, what do you think?
No, I agree with that. CMC you have to die with at this point. You're not going to get enough back for the value that he currently is. And unless you're in a full rebuild situation, just like, look, I'll just take whatever you'll give me. Like, you're not going to be able to justify it to yourself, because the fact of the matter is that while CMC is aging out, being that he's on San Francisco, being the workload that he gets, you can't just sell him off, especially if you're competing in any kind of possibility. Saquon
Exactly.
being a little bit younger, you do have a chance to get what you would want for him. There is still that possibility. So I'm with you 100%, Joe.
Regardless of how you want to approach it, though, you cannot sell either one of these guys until August. I mean, you can, but like their value will be at peak when it comes to August. When it comes to teams like, oh crap, I didn't get enough running back depth, I need a little bit. Or the team's like, wow, I didn't think I was going to be competing this year. I can if I go get a stud running back. We need hype to build behind Barkley. Right now, it's a little sour the way it's tasting, just because that's what Nick Sirianni delivers to us. So we need time to get some sort of hype train behind these players. So if you're not competing anymore and you have these players, you have to wait as far as the selling.
So, Dan, I know you're a San Francisco fan. I saw a narrative that, obviously CMC is a running back and he's been successful, but I saw a narrative that there could, in the later years, let's say he starts to not be as good of a running back over the next couple of years, they could move him to a wide receiver role to give him a few more years. Are you buying that or no?
Did my face tell you everything it needed to? No.
Look, man, look. I'm just posing the question, okay? It's out there. It's in the world. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere else. You're the San Francisco fan. Is this a narrative? Like, if I'm going to deal CMC away, can I go, man, he's obviously an amazing running back, but they've already said that even when he starts, losing those running back reps, he's going to get wide receiver reps. So he's got another 5 years in him. You want to buy him now.
Yeah, so he loses all of his mismatch power if you were to make him a pure slot wide receiver, a.k.a. Luke McCaffrey. Okay, no.
Oof. Oof.
You're not doing that.
Look, man, I just got to pose the questions, okay? They're out there. I got to pose them. All right, no, I'm loving the content, guys. Thanks for everybody joining the chat. Hit the like, hit the sub. Let's see. Wolfgang said, someone this year offered me Keenan Allen and Michael Carter for Rashee Rice. Would you ever trade with a person and send you this kind of garbage?
This is redraft.
That clearly wasn't
this is
you, right?
redraft. This was week 3. Rashee Rice still had 3 more weeks he was suspended. Keenan Allen was booming. Michael Carter was just taking over. Or maybe it was week 4. It was when he was jumping in. This is no context. This is no context, Wolf Wiener. You get out of here, buddy. You get out of here. God.
Someone has an axe to grind.
Mm-hmm.
How are you sending such bad trades to someone with such a cool name?
I know. We'll
Look, this was a Brian trying to sell high is what this was.
Oh, hell
Keenan
yeah,
Allen
it
had a
was.
touchdown every week. The first 2 weeks, he was like, bro, I'm finna sell this guy.
I ended up getting Keenan Allen for A.J. Brown. I got that trade later on, a few weeks later. Let's go, buddy.
The problem is the pair up of Michael Carter. You didn't pair the right guy.
Well, he
At the
might have been
time.
before the week, yeah, because like at the time, Michael Carter had the big week 1 without
Right.
Trey Benson in there. It wasn't until after that they pivoted to Zonovan Knight. So, I mean,
I was selling high, baby.
I'm on that. I'm with Brian on that.
I mean, yeah, Connor went down. Like, you were definitely working it. You were I know you're not a car salesman, but you were channeling. You were
Oh,
channeling.
I had my inner Tyler going. I was ready for this. And like I said, I made it happen. I got A.J. Brown for it. It was right after the whole Twitch thing where he popped up, like, drop me on fantasy. I was like, all right, whatever. I need to get rid of 2 players. Let's go to 2 for 1.
Love it. Well, look, we've got time for one more. One more player you got to move, player you're looking to acquire. I'll open up to the 3 of you. Who wants it? We got one.
I won't even say anything, but 101 last year in the real draft, people are not really into him. I don't understand how Fernando Mendoza is going to be a 101, but you wouldn't draft Cam Ward with a better athleticism in the same spot. He's got all the right things happening. He's still valued low. I think he's going to have an explosion of a second year, so try to acquire Cam Ward if you can.
You buddy.
Got the 2 on the bottom are like nodding with you. What a drop there.
Yeah, much better coaching staff this year, like all the way around.
So there you go. last little morsel there at the end of the show. Joe says, in Dynasty, go get Cam Ward. He's cheap and he's gonna actually pan out. Can't hate that. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Dan, Brian, Joe, man, fun having you guys on. If you guys are new to the show, make sure you hit the like, make sure you sub. We're here every week, Friday night, 9 o'clock Central. We've got a link down below with some of the merch items, a rockin' hoodie like this one I'm wearing right now, which is probably the best hoodie I've ever owned. So definitely check that out. Got some hats, everything there. We've got a slew of content at the FF Advice Network. Make sure that you check it out. Rookie, if you want to be ahead on the rookie game, we will have a rookie guy coming out again this year. But the content dropping on the channel right now to set you up in your dynasty leagues is awesome. And, you know, Joe, Brian, I watched y'all's episode. I watched that hot mess of an episode, and I don't care how many views it gets. I don't care. I will watch it every single week, and eventually everybody in the world will watch it every single week. Much love, guys. Fantasy Meatball said,
look,
great
we
show.
got smart guys like Dan and others on the channel dropping all these great contents. We need a little hilarity here. We need a little lightness. So that's what Joe and I are here to bring. We're here to ruin the offseason.
Ruin it, please. Hey, again, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week, 9 o'clock Central from the Forum. Have a good one. Good luck. Enjoy Super Bowl.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.